Hi, I'm Amanda from Life Unraveled, and we're here to unravel life's little mysteries. Today we're looking at 4-year-olds and maths, and what are the things that we can do to help our kids with our maths. In part 1 we've gone through generally a whole heap of these different mathematical concepts. So in part 2 we're going to go through in a little bit more detail just a few of these. We have a course that you can do that goes into all of these aspects in more detail. Let's get started. So let's get started on looking at shapes and some of the things that we can do with shapes. Now we've already gone through a little bit of it previously, so let's continue and get some more detail. Having children compare different shapes, what's the same? For instance, is there anything the same between a circle and a triangle? Well, there's not, because the circle is completely round and a triangle has 3 corners. But how about the difference between a triangle and a pentagon, for instance? And yes, there are similarities. They all have corners, they have sides. So you can see how you can start to relate the similarities between the different shapes, which then means that the children start to see the shapes in a completely different way. Now at this age, sometimes simple origami is a really good tool to use to create all different sorts of shapes, change a square into a triangle or into 4 triangles. In this way, the children can start to manipulate the shapes a lot more and understand where you've got 4 sides and then you have now 3 sides, so that's where the difference lies. Here are some opposites that, just for your information, because sometimes I find it in the middle of the time when I'm sitting and playing with the kids, I can't think of what opposites are, or I want to choose to teach the children what an opposite is, and then I think, oh, I can think high and low, but I can't think of any. So here are a list of them. High and low, in and out, left and right, light and heavy, right and wrong, full and empty, on and off, inside outside, front back, tall short, happy sad, loud soft, sit stand, backwards forwards, big small, girl boy, and fast and slow. Now, one way that I used to find, because I often thought, oh, I want to teach the kids this, but I never remember to do it. And what I used to do is I used to make up just some cards, just on an A4 sheet, typed it into the Word and printed it out on my printer, cut them up, and so I had them on my fridge, and that way I remembered to teach the kids about high and low or in and out. And the more that I did it, and I only chose a couple a week, but I focused on those ones, so I said them so many times. And because I had said them so many times, then they were able to learn what that concept is. And remember, children learn by doing and by repetition. So the more that you do things and the more that they do it themselves and you repeat it, the easier it is for them to learn. Now, building and stacking, best way ever, Lego. Gotta say, Lego, Duplo, blocks, train tracks, all of those things, Meccano, fabulous for children to learn fine motor movement, to learn building and stacking, a heap of maths concepts, a heap of engineering concepts. They also learn lots about socializing with other children and sharing. These are probably the best toys that you could ever get your children. Now, some kids are really not into them. Often there's another product called Elo for girls, and that's great. That makes up a whole heap. You can make up a whole heap of different rooms and make a beauty room and make a kitchen and all these sorts of things. The more that you can get them building and creating,
the better it is for you. Mobilo is another great toy for the kids to have, and it helps with that. It's that engineering, that manipulating, the stacking and building and creating from basic shapes a more complex shape and a functional toy, like a car that can move, or a truck, or a digger, or something like that. Now, I did talk briefly about sequencing. There are some games that are good for you to have a look at. You can get them online, and they're sequencing games. So they talk about the steps of the seasons, for instance. So it will have one tree, and it will go through all the different parts of the seasons. Jigsaw puzzles often will have a sequence of events printed on them, and they're really good to do as well. Another thing is just cooking. It's a step-by-step guide. You can't put the mixture into the oven until you've actually mixed it. And if you just put the flour in and you don't put the eggs in, then you're not going to get the right product at the end. So you have to make sure that all the parts of the recipe are included. The more you cook with your kids and get them to help you make biscuits, it's great for their fine motor movement, for their gross motor movement when they're stirring around. It's great for their sequencing, for their maths. It's great for English because it teaches them when you're chatting and talking. It teaches them about the language development, teaches them about sentence structure. Just cooking also teaches them about maths, about volume, measurements, a whole heap of stuff. So they're the sorts of things that we already do, but you don't realise what you're actually teaching the kids. I always suggest for this age group to teach them the days of the week, so that they know in their head the days of the week and the months of the year. Even that little rhyme that we use that tells you how many days there are in a month. It goes like this.
30 days has September, April, June and November. All the rest have 31, except for February. It's the one which only has 28 days clear and 29 in each leap year.
They're the sorts of things that you should be teaching them now. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. They need to be able to know those words. They need to be able to say them. They need to understand the sequence that they happen in. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are the days of the week. The weekend is Saturday and Sunday. And together they make up our week. So make sure that you use those words and that you talk to the kids about those. Having a calendar, a big calendar either on a wall or on a whiteboard that has the day, the date, the year. So you would have the date, you'd have the day, the month and the year separately. Also looking at the weather is great. Is it sunny outside? And the kids then start to really look outside and start to use their brain and think about the world around them. Talking about the rhythm of the day. Now, you would have been doing this from when they were little, but often when they've had lunch, you say, right, what's going to happen now? What normally happens after lunch? Make sure that they understand what the next step is. When you have done that, you'll find that kids love that routine. They love knowing what the next step is. So, for instance, when my children were playing with others, I would say, right, 5 more minutes and then we're going. And I always would make sure that 5 minutes was only 5 minutes. And then they really understood what 5 minutes was, and they knew that at the end of that 5 minutes we would leave. So when I said something, I always followed through. And that way I got the consistency, which we spoke about earlier with discipline and with socialising. That consistency of what you say is what you do really helps with the discipline side of it. So when I'd say, right, 5 minutes and we're going, I'd put my timer on, and when that 5 minutes went, I'd say to my friends, oh look, I've got to go, and off I went. And that was really important that we had that, but it gave them an understanding of what the next thing was going to happen, what sort of the rhythm of the day was. And the more that they understand the rhythm of the day, they can then start to learn about sequencing, they can start to learn about time, they can start to learn about a whole heap of aspects of socialisation as well. There are some other quick concepts that I'd like to just mention. One is smaller and larger, or one less or one more, and that will help them with their addition. It will also help them with their shapes. Now, I've only briefly gone through all the things that we could discuss with maths. We have a whole course, a 10-week course on all the different aspects of maths, so feel free to go and have a look at that. It really gives you some great hints and tips of things that you can do to help your kids. I've just given you, as I said, a brief outline, but I'm sure you've got heaps of things that you can do with them so that you can really get them ready for that school experience. Thanks for listening. I hope that you found lots of information out of this. Remember that there are some handouts at the end of this course. You can just go to there and have a look at all the different links that you can download.
I look forward to seeing you in the next unit of this course. We've learnt so much. Remember, you can always go back and re-look at these videos and pick out a few more things that you can do with your kids. Have lots of fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.